Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon. This is Tucker, also known as Haggard, back with another episode of Tucked In. Boys, we're dumping. Boys, we're dumping a little bit here, unfortunately. We're going to look at equities. We're going to look at ETH, SOL, ETH, IBIT, all the things. Bitcoin, of course. But if you guys would go ahead and hit the like and subscribe, we very much appreciate that. And let's dive in. So obviously I have the Bitcoin chart pulled up, Binance chart. I've got my spider lines on here, which you guys know I like. I like to draw them on the weekly and then drop down. But at any rate, we are kind of in no man's land here on Bitcoin. As you can see, this particular spider line has been pretty darn relevant, right? Good support here, good support here, good support here twice. We've now fallen below. Yesterday we came back, we retested it, and then we fell back down. So if I'm being honest, my target in the short term is this spider line right here at 95K. 95K. Now I know there are some levels between here and there. And to point one out would be this, right? Our 50-week simple moving average. Sitting right at 101.8, 102. I think there's a decent probability we hit that sooner than later. I could see a bounce here, I could see a little bounce here, but I do think that 95K is our target for now. We'll see what happens when we get there, but again, losing 100K, losing this 102 level would not be great, would not be a great look. And the bounce I'd expect at 95 is not crazy, in my opinion. It just looks weak. It just looks weak, unfortunately. It looks limp. And like I said, I really do not like that we've fallen below that spider line and retested it as resistance, support turn resistance, if you will. But lower time, I wanted to look at lower time frames, then we'll get into ETH and some others. But yeah, that's still our 50-week. Stock market did just close. It's 3:30 my time. It's after hours. Going into a pretty illiquid period right now. Going into a pretty illiquid period. I do think that there is a possibility for this to play. Decently tightened validation on that short, but it doesn't look super great right now. There's no two ways around it. It doesn't look great. This whole, liquidity grab yesterday does not look great on the chart. This wick seemingly needs to get filled fully because we did come and almost fill it. And again, this is the Binance chart, so I know other charts didn't have this wick, but it does look like we want to come down and fill that at this point. Just how droopy this looks. And this, kind of zoomed in, you can see it even better, right? The support this gave, and then we fell through resistance. That's where I think we're headed short term. But I wanted really to look at ETH. So I wanted to go through a few things here on ETH. I hadn't looked at that actually. 3,100 is where that 50-week is. I'm going to draw a few volume profiles. Okay. I'm going to take one from this whole range, right? I'm going to take one from up here just so we can see where our resistance will be. Move this over one from the bottom. Okay. And then where's the other one I wanted it here? It's actually this candle. There. All right. So breaking this down a little bit. Above head, we obviously have pretty decent resistance right there. I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. This is really our hope right now, is this value area high of this entire range, because, and I'll draw support down here as well. We're just marking out some levels. Just marking out some levels. Okay. You've got this line, right? This value area high. You also have a volume shelf, which doesn't show up on the profile, but it's right there. And then you've got the 50-week. So for me, for ETH, this looks like it looks a little toppy, looks kind of like the start of a downtrend, unfortunately. I mean, it's been in a downtrend technically, but I would really look to this 50-week as well as this volume shelf. Should we lose 37.50, which it appears that we're trying to do. In my opinion, below this wick right here, you're going to come and see this level. So below this wick, right at 36.75, I think you see 33s, 31s. Below that, obviously, you've got low twos, but we don't want to talk about that right now. I don't think that's really in play quite yet. But I mean, this is kind of the setup for ETH, though. This is kind of the setup for ETH. I mean, if I were like solely leverage trading this, obviously I would have wanted to be short from higher, but it would be something like this, and it would be something like this. Again, same stop, but I'm going to pull this all the way down here. And this would be like, that's how I would play it if I'm playing it on perps, honestly. I mean, that's 3R on both. Well, how much? 1.8 and 3R on this one. So decent setups, honestly. I don't think it's going to take that long to play out. I think, honestly, you get TP1 a lot sooner than you'd expect. But based on what I'm looking at right here, I mean, it does look like 31 to 33 is in play for sure. So wanted to point that out. If I just put our basic MA ribbons on here, I mean, it's pretty clear that you started a downtrend, right? Pretty clear you started a downtrend, unfortunately. So yeah, this would be my first area of interest. This would be number 2, but we're not quite there yet. We've got structure here. This is the value area high, right? This 37.40, 37.50 level, which we're coming into right now. Like I said, anything, as long as we're hanging out above this wick from Friday, October 17th, not the 10th, but the 17th, I think you're fine. I think you're fine. But anything at or below 36.75, I'm looking down here for sure. I'm looking down here. To add a little confluence, I wanted to look at ETH. I'm going to get rid of this. This is what's most troubling, right? This is what's most troubling. I don't really see anything in here in between where we're at and 23 bucks. This is obviously all supply above head. So to me, ETH looks like it's headed to about 23 bucks. It is what it is, right? I mean, I think you can pull some negative fibs. I don't necessarily know where you want to pull it from. Let's do fib. Yeah. So 24 to $23 would be kind of downside targets for me for ETH. Just because it does look like it wants to test that sooner than later. You know, obviously you do have the structure here. There is support. There is a gap. I guess the gap got filled. Never mind. There is not a gap. Been filled. But to me, this looks like it wants lower. It looks like it wants lower, unfortunately. Let's go look at Sol real quick. Sol actually looks kind of the best out of all the majors. I'm sure there is a there's a bear div on this chart. I'd be shocked if there wasn't. What am I looking at here? Technically, I guess, yeah. right? This high was this. It's not a giant div. It's not a massive div, but you did have a little bear div there. If we're drawing support, right? I mean, you're at it. You tested it already. I'm going to take it from the bodies. RSI is breaking below 50 and breaking through this kind of trend line, right? I know SR doesn't work as well on RSI as it does on price, but it's worth drawing sometimes. Sold below 170, 175 is cooked in my opinion, right? Right now it's fine. Right now it's at 180, but it honestly looks better than Bitcoin. It looks better than ETH at this point. But really would not like to see this sub 180, sub 170. Call it 170, right? Sub 170. I do think you have support here on Sol, though. You know, I think you have support at this level. Boom, 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 boom. You know, I mean, this level has been tested a few times. So you're definitely sitting at support. You're definitely already tested, like I pointed out. This depends where you draw it, I guess. But if you want to take it from the wicks, if you take it from the wicks, you're already below, right? Which is not great. But if you take it from the bodies, there we go. Then you haven't gotten there quite yet. But either way, things are somewhat sitting on a knife's edge. You know, not that it's over, right? We could absolutely V recover out of this for sure. But things do look a little bit set up for more downside. So just wanted to point those few things out. S&P still strong, sold off a little bit today and then recovered. I think anything above like 64s, you're fine. I would not want to see it get back below 64s. Qs, same thing, really 580 to 575, in my opinion, is your level for the Qs. Another one. This is one we're talking about on market check. And this is what had me worried about IWM, right? Was, you know, the sweep and jeet, right? The sweep and jeet of all-time highs. And this is what had me worried a month or so ago as well, was that this is kind of your third tap. And usually things don't go through on the third tap. Usually it takes one more. So even if it's just a little pullback, and I think your fourth tap is the one you're going to slice through like butter on. So I don't know. I think we need a little consolidation. Because to me, if IWM was going to go from here, it would have gone. I mean, we're sitting at 252. You know, like I think it would have gone by now. So at this point, it's beginning to look weak on IWM. Grind up is fine, but like you need a breakaway candle on this thing. You really do. You need a breakaway candle. So anyways, those are my thoughts. You know, I think there's definitely still room to the upside on some things. But for me, downside seems more likely than upside. Yeah, that's excuse me. That's really where I'm at with it. I think you know, like I said before, Q4 usually goes the way Q1 goes, unfortunately. I was hoping this time would be different and we would get a super bullish Q4. And things were set up that way a couple weeks ago, honestly. But given the last week or so, I think seeing the weakness across the board has changed my mind on some things. So the confluence of IWM, the Bitcoin chart, you know, with the spider lines, the ETH chart, looking like this. I mean, look, I get the case for upside on ETH. I'm going to remove all this. I totally get the case for upside on ETH, right? Like, I think you definitely do, you know, that was kind of the line people we're wanting to see retested. I really wanted to see this thing hold right here. It did not. It did not, because there's not great spider lines on ETH. There's really not. Like, I think you can maybe take one like here. Not even there. Actually, I think that's a decent one. I think these two are the only ones that matter. And you did wick into it already, but I'll say this about ETH. Actually, we're kind of looking at this live, right? This is totally on the fly. Above here, I'm bullish, and here it's probably a no touch. Below here, it's done. So short term. So if I was playing it on leverage with a high time frame bias, obviously if it's going to go higher, your best entries are going to be around here. Willing to miss out on it a little bit. Honestly, willing to sacrifice a phenomenal entry for confirmation at this point, but would like to see. I mean, that's basically 3,600, right? So at or below 3,600, I mean, I don't see a case for upside imminently. So that's how I'm going to play ETH, I think. But I'm sure there's some more lines you could draw on here. Some trend lines. If it takes this long, I mean, this could be a good bid spot, honestly. If it turn that off, if it takes this long and you get this kind of pinch confluence right at 3,600 around November 3rd, that could be a decent bid spot, with some pretty tight invalidation below the wick. New highs. But yeah, I'm gonna say short term, it's below 3,600. Below 3,600, I think it's fried. I don't know, it just looks a little weak, looks a little droopy to me. That's all. So just wanted to put this out, let you guys know where my head was at with everything. But yeah, just seems like we're kind of cliff dwelling here on Bitcoin and ETH. So yeah, anyways, stay safe, guys. Stay safe. It's a volatile market out there. But anyways, that is it for me this afternoon. That's it for me. I'll be back next week with another episode of Tucked In. And hopefully we're higher. But anyways, I'll catch you guys at the next one.